Here's a question that sounds like fiction. Could you destroy a country without firing a single shot, using nothing but a printing press? During the Second World War, Nazi Germany believed you could and committed enormous resources to proving it. The plan was to forge British banknotes in such volume that the pound itself would stop being believed in, and Britain would collapse from the inside without a shot being fired at it. It was called Operation Bernhard. It became the largest counterfeiting operation in history, and the way it was carried out is one of the darkest stories in the history of money, because the forgers were prisoners of the regime that was murdering their families. Understand what the idea actually was, because it is more sophisticated than simple theft. The point was never to get rich, the point was to break trust. If enough convincing forgeries entered circulation, two things follow, and the second is far worse than the first. First, the money supply inflates, more notes chasing the same goods, so prices rise and savings erode, exactly as if the Bank of England had recklessly printed them itself. But second, and this is the real weapon, once people know good forgeries are circulating, every note becomes suspect. Not just the fake ones, yours, the one in your hand. A shopkeeper starts refusing notes, a bank starts scrutinizing them, and the thing that made paper money work, that nobody has to think about it, is gone. You do not need to destroy the currency. You only need to make people uncertain about it, and that meant the forgeries had to be extraordinary. The British £5 note was famously difficult to counterfeit: particular paper, a precise watermark, and a serial numbering system with rules that were not public. Producing a convincing fake needed the finest engravers, printers, papermakers, and typographers available, so the regime went looking for them in the concentration camps. Prisoner records were searched for Jewish and Polish printers, artists, bankers, engravers. Around 140 to 150 men were selected and moved into a sealed section of Sachsenhausen, Block 19, cut off from the rest of the camp, forbidden contact with anyone, and officially non-existent. Consider the position those men were placed in, because it is close to unbearable. Refuse and you are killed. Succeed and your skill helps the government that is exterminating your people. There was no version of that choice that was not monstrous. And they faced it every morning for years. And inside that trap was the one piece of leverage they had. As long as the forgeries were needed and only they could make them, they were too valuable to kill. Their expertise, the thing extracted from them under threat, was also the only thing keeping them alive. It is a horrible kind of protection, and it worked. Unusually for prisoners in their situation, most of the men in Block 19 survived the war, kept alive precisely because they were kept useful until the end. Some of them also did something quieter and far braver. Ordered to move on from the pound to the American dollar, several deliberately slowed the work, introducing problems, stalling on the hardest technical stages, spinning out the timeline. Sabotage conducted at the pace of a craftsman under a death sentence, by men who could be shot the moment they stopped being indispensable. The dollar forgery was never completed. The results were technically astonishing. They solved the paper. They solved the watermark. They worked out the logic behind the Bank of England's serial numbers well enough to generate plausible ones. The output tells you the scale. From late 1943, the operation was producing close to 1 million counterfeit notes every month. Not 1 million pounds, 1 million notes month after month, from a single hidden workshop inside a concentration camp. The quality was good enough that the Bank of England took it extremely seriously both during and after the war, and Britain ultimately restructured its banknotes in response, because the alternative was living with permanent doubt about which fives in circulation were genuine. Which means the forgers, working under coercion, achieved the technical goal completely. And then the operation failed anyway, for a reason nobody in Block 19 could have predicted. The original plan was to scatter the notes over Britain from aircraft, millions of perfect forgeries drifting down on British towns, to be picked up, spent, and quietly poisoned into the economy. It never happened. By the time the notes existed in quantity, the Luftwaffe no longer had aircraft to spare for dropping paper on England. It was losing a war, so the forgeries were spent instead, used quietly to buy supplies and weapons through black markets. And to pay agents. The most famous recipient was the spy known as Cicero, an Albanian valet working in the British embassy in Ankara who passed British secrets to Germany and was paid generously in counterfeit British pounds. He was betraying his employer for money that his handlers had manufactured. He did not find out for years. It is the whole operation in miniature, a weapon aimed at trust, which ended up defrauding the man carrying it. As the war collapsed in 1945, the evidence had to disappear. Crates of forged notes and the printing plates were loaded onto trucks and dumped into water, into the Inns, into the Traun, and most famously into Lake Toplitz, a deep, cold alpine lake in Austria. and there it sat. In 1959, a diver working the lake found wooden boxes packed with counterfeit 5-pound notes, and the printing plates were recovered a few weeks later. People have been searching that lake ever since, which has produced a small industry of treasure hunting and a great deal of speculation. But the notes themselves ended up somewhere worth noticing, in museum collections, including the Bank of England's own. The forgeries built to destroy the currency are now exhibits, displayed by the institution they were designed to bring down. So step back and ask why a government at war would spend years and enormous resources on this. Because whoever designed Operation Bernhard understood something about money that most people never think about. They did not try to steal Britain's gold. They did not try to seize its banks. They went after the one thing a currency actually consists of, which is the willingness of ordinary people to accept a piece of paper without inspecting it. That is the entire mechanism. A 5-pound note works because the person you hand it to does not examine it, does not test it, does not think about it at all. Introduce systematic doubt into that reflex, and the currency degrades from the inside with nobody firing anything. It was an attack on confidence, and confidence is the only thing holding any of this up, which is exactly why it is worth understanding that it very nearly worked. Two things are worth carrying out of this. The first is about the men in Block 19. They were handed an impossible choice by people who intended to kill them either way, and they navigated it with a mixture of compliance, delay, and quiet sabotage that kept most of them alive to the end of the war. Whatever else this story is, it is theirs, and it deserves to be better known than it is. The second is the thing they were forced to prove. The strongest currency in the world at the time was not defended by gold in a vault, and it could not have been. It was defended by the fact that nobody looked twice at a 5-pound note. That is still true of whatever is in your wallet, and of the number in your banking app. It works because you do not interrogate it. Operation Bernhard is the clearest demonstration anyone has ever staged that money is a shared belief, and that the way to attack it is not to steal it. It is to make people wonder. One deliberate omission. You will very often see a total face value quoted for Operation Bernhard, usually well over £100 million. The figures in circulation vary considerably, and we could not confirm any single one, so we have left the total out and used the documented production rate instead, close to 1 million notes a month from late 1943, on a channel about being honest with numbers. A figure we cannot stand behind does not belong on screen, however good it would sound.